Alright, now before we get started on the sifting or cutting process of the footage, I want to talk a little bit about keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts are a combination of keys used on your keyboard to allow you to select a tool or an effect without having to click with your mouse. I'm not going to take you through every keyboard shortcut, only the ones that I primarily use and that I feel will be most beneficial for you to know. The first one will be probably the most important one, playing and pausing your footage by using the spacebar. In order to zoom in and out of your timeline to be able to see closer up on each individual clip, you push plus to zoom in, minus to zoom out. This allows you to do more finite cutting on individual frames. And then if you zoom out, you can see it all, or zoom in and just be looking at one individual clip and each individual frame in that clip. In order to cut up those clips like you just saw me doing, I push B for my razor tool, or you can come over here and click on this blade looking tool. I personally have my keyboard shortcut set up customized, which means I came up here to Premiere Pro CC, clicked on keyboard shortcuts, and then found the tool that I wanted to use, and then changed it from what it was originally, which was C, and switched it to B. So you can customize the tools as you feel is most convenient for your setup and your fingers and the way you like it. Now once I've used my blade tool and I want to go back to my select tool, I have it set up to A, which allows me to now select clips. Now let's suppose that I want to undo everything I just did here. As a universal keyboard shortcut, Command Z will edit, undo everything I just did. And if I decide, actually, you know what, I liked all those changes I made, I can do Command Shift Z, which will allow me to redo everything I just did. Also, as a universal keyboard shortcut is Command C to copy this clip and then Command V to paste that clip. Now you'll notice that when I pasted that, it automatically went right below this one, and if I don't want it to go below that clip, I have to come over here to these blue V1, V2, V3s, and wherever the lowest blue is where it's going to paste to. So if I unselect V1 and all I have highlighted is the V2, it will now paste on line 2. If I don't want it to paste over top of that clip, then I unselect V2 and select V3, and now it's going to paste onto video line 3. So that's what these blue highlights mean, is wherever you have it highlighted is where it will paste onto your timeline. Now very similar to the copy and paste is the copy attributes, paste attributes, which means if I have an effect applied to my clip, let's say I brought up this exposure to be super bright, and let's say I wanted to apply that to the clip next to him, what I can do is say Command C, copy this clip, and then Option V, which is paste attributes, and it will ask me which attributes do you want to paste from that clip you just copied. And if I made any changes to the motion or opacity or time remapping, I can choose those, but in this case all I want is to paste the exact same color correcting attribute. So I will say OK, and you will see it now applies the exact same RGB curve that I had applied to this clip is now applied to this clip. Another shortcut I like to use a lot is what I've set up to be V, which allows me to enable or disable a clip, revealing a clip below it if you have multiple stacked on top of each other. This can be found by right-clicking on the clip and coming up to enable. And this I like to use when I'm deciding between two clips. Another one I like to use, let's say I want to extend out my audio, but I don't want to extend out the video. Since they're linked together, I have to unlink them, which I can do by right-clicking, unlink, or as I've set my keyboard shortcut to U, it allows me to now work with the audio and video separate of each other, and if I choose to link them back together, I just select them both and go back to link, and now they are linked again. Now, I shot this whole video in slow-mo at 60 frames per second, and then I converted or interpreted the footage down to 24 frames per second, turning all my clips into slow motion. If I choose that I want to bring those clips back to real time, all I have to do is right-click, speed duration, and then depending on the frame rate you shot, I shot at 60 frames, divided by 24 is 250%, which will bring it back to normal motion. And the keyboard shortcut I've set up to go to speed duration is Command J which automatically brings that up and allows me to quickly type in the speed I desire, push enter for OK, and now I have normal speed. So let me show you if I decide to do it manually. Right click, speed duration, type it in, push OK, versus Command J, 250, enter. It's almost twice as fast, and though it doesn't seem like a big difference, when you're editing for 8 to 10 hours at a time, saving 2 or 3 seconds every 2 or 3 seconds cuts your editing time in half. Moving on to the next keyboard shortcut that I use quite often is nesting. Now nesting is when you have an effect on your clip, like I've changed the speed and duration of this clip by speeding it up, and then I decide I also want to stabilize this clip because now that I've sped it up, it doesn't look quite as smooth. So I'm going to warp stabilize this clip. It will tell me warp stabilizer and speed cannot be used on same clip, meaning you have 2 effects on here. I can't do both at the same time. So the way to fix that is by clicking on your clip, right clicking, and clicking on nest, or my keyboard shortcut I've set up for that is N. And what that does is basically creates a new layer and makes this clip a fresh new clip without any effects on it, which then allows me to apply a warp stabilizer or any other effect. And so now I have speed duration applied, nested, and then warp stabilizer applied. And now my clip is sped up and stabilized both at the same time. Now if I want to go back to the original clip, I just double click on my nested clip and it takes me back to the original one. And as you can see, it appears in its own sequence. So to get back to the rest of your project, you go back over here to your original sequence, and now you can see that nested clip. If I want to move all these clips to the right, I can either zoom all the way out, select everything to the right of that clip, zoom back in, and then shift it over, or I can select my track forward select tool, which can be found right underneath your select tool, or I've set it up to just be T, which then allows me to just click, and wherever I click, it will automatically select everything to the right of it, which I can then move, and as you can see, I'm moving everything to the right. Now if I ever want to give a crossfade to my clips, I can right click on the edge of a clip and say apply default transition, or I can click the whole clip and push what I've selected as C, which will automatically give me a crossfade to all the audio and the video, and I can then decide to get rid of the video and just leave the crossfades on the audio. As you're editing your project, it's smart to every once in a while click Command S, which will save your project, or you can come into File, Save, or Save As. Much faster just to push Command S, and that will keep you from losing your project if Premiere Pro happens to crash. Now let's say I have my project pretty much done. This is what I decide I'm going to be exporting out as my final video. You'll see up here that there's a yellow line that will sometimes appear red if you apply effects to it. What Premiere Pro is telling you is that I can't play this clip back at its full resolution until you've rendered it. And in order to render out just a specific set of clips, you push I for in, O for out, which will give you in and out points to your desired work area. And then you push Command R to begin rendering inside that work area. And as you can see, this bar begins to turn green as it renders out those clips. And what that does is it allows you to watch back those clips at full speed without it being choppy and laggy, and it will render everything inside your work area. And then let's assume you're ready to export this. You can come up to File, Export, and then select Media, or as you can see here, the keyboard shortcut is Command M. So I push Command M, and it brings up my exporting window, and go ahead and export.
So those are the main tools and corresponding keyboard shortcuts that I use. Be aware that I did customize a lot of those shortcuts, so you'll have to go and set those up yourself in keyboard shortcuts. If you guys have any further questions about tools and keyboard shortcuts, please let me know.